Jeanine Pirro got unbelievably angry, fired up, after a reporter pointed out that her failures at the DOJ are not just like excessive, they're actually historic. And I'm gonna give you some stats that are fascinating. But first, we're gonna play a clip for you, and you're not gonna be able to hear the question that's asked of her in the clip. So just let me let you know that she's being asked about the fact that she has an extremely low conviction rate for the cases that she investigates. And here is her response.
Oh, cut it out. Do you know how many convictions we've got? Cut it out. You're in one lane. We have cleaned up this city. Oh, yeah, historic, really? I'll tell you what's historic. What's historic is that I prosecute everything other than 10% of the cases, where the United States attorney before me didn't prosecute 67% of the cases. That's what's historic. I'm willing to take a not guilty. I'm willing to take a no true bill, because I'll take all the crimes and put them in. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the time we have.
First of all, cut it out. That's how she starts. So yeah, so the issue isn't that she sucks, or honestly, I'm always down to insult Jeanine Pirro. I think I've made that clear. But in this particular case, the issue with Jeanine Pirro is that she's just being told by the Trump administration, here is a long list of our political opponents that haven't committed any crimes, but could you just give it the old Pirro try? Investigate them, see if you can lock them up. And then it turns out, well, you can't actually lock them up if they haven't committed any crimes. So the conviction rate drops lower and lower and lower. But she has to pretend that it's not that. It's not that she's one of the key weapons in the weaponization of the DOJ. It's just that they didn't used to investigate anything or charge them or whatever. But here's the issue. Let's talk about those historic numbers. So Magistrate Judge Jayar Jackson had her clerks run the numbers. So from 2014 to 2024, so the decade sort of leading up to the Trump administration, there were 4,000 cases charged by complaint. And in it, the government moved to dismiss less than 20 defendants' cases. In the last 8 weeks, the government has charged 95 cases by criminal complaint. And in that time, the government has moved to dismiss 20 defendants. The same thing, 1 decade, 2 months, same failure rate. That is going from a 0.5% dismissal rate to a 21% dismissal rate. And it's just because she tries so hard. That's what it is. But let's talk about just one example of the sort of issues she's facing. So a court has now blocked the DOJ's subpoenas of the Federal Reserve. Remember, she was trying to go after the Fed and the Fed governors. Why? Because they've committed a bunch of crimes? No, because Donald Trump wants them to. He wants to put pressure on the Fed to try to get them to surrender, lower the interest rates or whatever, because that's his goal for short term. He thinks it'll juice the economy. It might do tons of damage long term, but it might be beneficial in the short term. That's what they're doing. And by the way, the judge that investigated, Judge Boasberg, said that the investigation of Powell, the main target of that investigation, was utterly without evidence and was in fact meant to influence interest rates. And it's not going forward because there was no actual crime. Remember, she also, about a month ago, had her investigations, the charge that she had done against the Democrats who participated in that don't follow illegal orders thing, that was also vacated. You could have had a lower failure rate on these if you stopped doing absolute bullcrap investigations, but she can't stop because that's why she's in this position in the first place. Jayar, what do you think?
I always wondered, I said, Jeanine Pirro. So Donald Trump watched her on the 5 embarrass herself most every day and get talked down with the most simplest rebuttals and pushbacks on her ridiculous arguments, and said, that's my person. I'm gonna put her in place to go after folks and somehow come up with some convictions of all my political enemies. Bro, I assume she took the job, same reason Pete Hegseth did. They're empty-minded and they're like, I'll do whatever you tell me. I'll drop to a knee. I'll wear shoes on my knees so I can make sure that I move around as quickly and easily as possible to kiss your ass. And as we see this happen, when is the firing gonna come? I thought these are performance-based positions. I thought we'd have gotten away from those DEI positions that always get in unqualified people who don't get the job done. That is until we get this lady in here doing things like screaming at the media. It's not the first time either. Every time I see her talking to anyone that's asking her questions, it could be mild, it could be as offensive as her bad success rate. But either way, she's screaming and running off to, I guess, go hit the bottle. This is crazy that that's her reputation. I don't even know much about as far as her drinking tendencies, but that appears to be what's sticking with people.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a failure, and I'm good. I'm glad. The fact that she's being overridden by these judges, that's one of the few breaks that we have on all the insane stuff that's going on.